I will get started. Greetings. Now is the time and place for a meeting of the Beaverton Planning Commission. For the record, I will do a roll call to verify which commission members are participating this evening. Let the record show that we have Commissioners Glenwinkle, Commissioner Lawler, Commissioner Nye, and Commissioner Winter are present. We expect Commissioner Ellis to join and will notify or will make a statement if he is able to join us this evening. So we will move on to commission communications. Commission, are there any communications? I do not see any. So we will move on to staff communications. Staff, are there any communications tonight?
Good evening, Chair McCann and Commissioners. I just have one quick exciting staff communication. I have a staff introduction to make. We have a new position, Assistant City Transportation Engineer, Kara Hall. So she is here with us tonight and popped on camera briefly. So you may be seeing her tonight and in the future. We are very excited to have her. So thank you. That's it.
Excellent. Thank you and welcome, Kara. All right, the first item on the agenda is the application for LU 2023-00649, the Beaverton Chic Temple. Case file number CUN 3-2023-00644, DR2 2023-00645, and TP2 2023-00644. The applicant has the burden of proving that the applications are consistent with the Beaverton Development Code, Comprehensive Plan, and any applicable Beaverton Code provision. The criteria that must be addressed in the hearing are 40.03.1 Facilities Review Committee, 40.15.15.5C New Conditional Use, 40.20.15.2C Design Review 2, and 40.90.15.2C Tree Plan 2. Testimony, arguments, and evidence must be directed toward these approval criteria or other criteria in the Comprehensive Plan or Development Code that the speaker believes to apply to the application. Failure to raise an issue accompanied by statements or evidence sufficient to allow the Planning Commission and other interested parties an opportunity to respond to the issue may preclude an appeal to the Land Use Board of Appeals based on that issue. Anyone who submits written comments or gives oral testimony has standing to appeal this decision. Failure of the applicant to raise a constitutional or other issues relating to the proposed conditions of approval with sufficient specificity to allow the city to respond to the issue may preclude an action for damages in circuit court. State and local law require commissioners to make certain disclosures. To these ends, the following question will be asked. Does any commissioner have a potential or actual conflict of interest, ex parte contacts, or site visits to declare? And before we do this, I just want the record to show that Commissioner Ellis has now joined us. So, Commissioner, to the questions, Commissioner Lawler, do you have any potential or actual conflict of interest?
I have no potential or actual conflicts of interest. I did conduct a site visit today and did not encounter any nor speak with anyone on that visit.
Okay. Commissioner Glenwinkle.
No to all three.
Commissioner Nye.
No to all three for me as well.
Commissioner Winter.
No to all three.
All right. And Commissioner Ellis.
No to all three.
All right. And no to all three for myself as well. Does any member of the audience wish to question a commissioner about ex parte contacts or site visits or challenge the right of any commissioner to participate in this hearing? It looks like we have none. So let the record show no response. The order of the public hearing tonight will be as follows. City staff will give a presentation, followed by commissioners' questions of staff. The applicant will be given 20 minutes for its presentation, followed by the commission's questions of the applicant. Then members of the public in support of the application can speak for up to 5 minutes each. Then members of the public opposed to the application can speak for up to 5 minutes each. Members of the public who are neither in support nor opposed will then have 5 minutes to speak. After public testimony, the applicant will have 5 minutes for rebuttal. The Planning Commission will then hear any final comments from staff. So we will now begin with the staff presentation.
All right. Good evening, Chair and Commissioners. My name is Brett Cannon, Associate Planner with the City of Beaverton, and the item before you this evening is the Beaverton Sikh Temple proposal. The proposal includes converting an existing single detached dwelling to a place of worship use. Site improvements to facilitate the change in use include a new parking lot, new pedestrian circulation, a new driveway to facilitate a one-way in, one-way out vehicular circulation system, in addition to one of the existing accessory structures and tree removal. The necessary applications for these modifications are a new conditional use, a design review 2, and a tree plan 2. And then staff also just wants to note that there were 3 supplemental memorandum that were sent. One of them was just over an hour ago. So if you didn't receive those, let us know. We can try to get them to you. All right, so the project site is located at 15660 Southwest Division Street. Site's approximately 2 acres with the proposed development taking place on basically the northern 2/3 of the property. It's within the West Beaverton Neighborhood Association Committee boundaries and is zoned residential mixed C or RMC. So the proposed use, a place of worship, is conditionally permitted in the underlying zoning district, and a prior conditional use approval is not already in effect. So therefore, a new conditional use permit is required. So the site has existed as a single detached dwelling since it was constructed approximately in 1930. One of the approval criteria for a new conditional use application asks the applicant to demonstrate how the location, size, and functional characteristics of the proposal are such that it can be made reasonably compatible with the surrounding area and uses. So based on the materials submitted by the applicant, staff finds that the proposal is compatible with the surrounding neighborhood due to the following. So the applicant will provide off-street parking for 80 vehicles, which is 26 more than the expected 54 vehicles that would arrive during the peak traffic hour as described in the traffic memo. The applicant will dedicate property to provide for sidewalks and a planter strip along the property's frontage. The priest will reside actually in the existing home that says to remain right there. So therefore the site will continue to operate much like a single detached dwelling with the occasional family functions happening or Sikh holidays, of which there are about 6 on the calendar. And the trip increase is limited to 30 daily trips Monday through Saturday and approximately 120 on Sunday between the 11 a.m. and 2 p.m. hours, which the service is proposed to take place. All right, so a design review 2 is necessary for the proposed parking lot, circulation area, and minor facade improvements and new landscaping. As can be seen on the site plan here, the majority of the work is for proposed parking area and the new circulation for both pedestrians and vehicles. There will be small modifications to the existing structure and another addition to the westernmost structure as well. On the north-facing elevation, which is visible from Southwest Division Street, the existing pole barn / garage accessory structure is going to be maintaining its metal siding, but they will be adding 2 large windows, which can be seen at the bottom left-hand side of the picture there. No changes to the existing detached dwelling are proposed, and the one addition, which is highlighted in yellow there on the screen, isn't visible from the right-of-way. However, it will be adding glazing and a new cover to meet the weather protection design standards. And then finally, the proposed parking lot will be meeting the 40% minimum tree canopy coverage as part of the new CFEC regulations as described in the off-street parking lot design. And that can be seen at the top there in the part of the screen. And the third application to accommodate the proposed parking lot, which you can see here, is the removal of trees. It's primarily centered to the center of the site right there where all the X's are. The applicant's demolition plan states that there'll be up to 64 removed and that they will be providing or proposing to maintain many of the trees on the screen here. It's to the left, but it's actually the southern portion of the site. And those will be acting as a buffer to the neighborhood to the south. And based on the materials the applicant has provided, staff find the criterion and other applicable tree plan 2 approval criteria have been satisfied. In conclusion, staff recommends approval of LU 3-2023-00649 and associated permits, the Beaverton Sikh Temple, subject to the recommended conditions of approval, and staff is open to any of the questions the commission may have.
Thank you. Are there any questions of staff with regard to the proposed application? Commissioner Ellis.
Yeah, sorry, I was looking for a hand button, new computer. Just a technicality question. This is from an ignorance point of view. The materials from the applicant talk about the construction of the kitchen, and they specifically mention restaurant grade or commercial grade gas stoves and so on. Does that affect the permitting under either the place of worship designation or anything like that? I didn't see anywhere else in any of the materials that talked about like that having any particular permit requirements that one might see in like a restaurant style environment.
No, so to clarify, they're speaking to the materials which would be inside the structure. Staff was more focused on the operational characteristics of said community kitchen and that it'll be operating to provide. And then the applicant, correct me if I'm incorrect here, but as my memory serves, is that it's to provide for the congregation. The type of, I guess, facilities or infrastructure they use inside the structure will be reviewed at the building permit stage. And it's not, yeah. So if that answers your question maybe a little better, that will be certainly reviewed with the building permit. But it's not really under the purview of a land use decision, the type of facilities and cooking equipment they would use inside.
Cool.
Does that help? Does that answer? And then,
yeah, that makes perfect sense. Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
Commissioner Lawler.
I guess sort of along that same line that occurred to me, calling it a community kitchen sounded like it was inviting the community into, for meals. And so, and I know certain churches may do that, or temples, religious institutions. But I guess I'd like to understand that this basically is operating as an accessory use to the temple, that this is not going to be a second use on the site.
Correct.
Okay, I just want that kind of clarified.
From all the conversations with the applicant, yeah, maybe the term community kitchen on the site plan might be a slight misnomer, and certainly the applicant can provide a little bit more background on
yeah.
characteristics. Okay,
and I do know it's very common for facilities like this to have kitchens for whatever events, whatever.
Yeah.
But I of course we received many letters about Division Street. So and I've read the application and the staff report basically saying that the applicant is responsible basically for the frontage improvements at their site. So maybe you could, for everyone's illumination, kind of explain what we can do and what we can't do with respect to off-site transportation impacts when a facility like this is adding trips. It's not adding 300 trips, it's just sort of a very modest change, but it is on a road that is distinctly narrow and with ditches on the side. It's basically not built to collector standards. So maybe kind of illuminate all of us as to what we can and can't do, because there's a lot of legal constraints. I understand that, and maybe that's what a lot of folks don't understand.
Yeah, I'll take the first shot, and then certainly if our transportation team wants to add anything, or even our city attorney, if we want to talk about takings and that necessary. But so I'll start with Southwest Division Street is actually under the jurisdictional, I guess, review of Washington County. while it is within the city of Beaverton's jurisdiction, Washington County provides all of the input. They have complete control over it. So for example, in the conditions of approval, if you notice, it's technically a Washington County condition of approval. For us and many of the streets that are under our purview, they more or less acquiesce to the city and what we would look to for our EDM standard. So that's the first thing, that Division Street is technically under the purview of Washington County. The second is kind of, I guess, yeah, if you want to get into land use history or law, about how the staff really only has the ability to ask for improvements which are under the purview of the application. So, you know, we can't expand it across the street too much. We'd really have to look at further in how the, I guess, impacts of the proposed use are having an overall transportation impact. And again, as you mentioned, Commissioner Lawler, it's under 300 trips, so expanding it beyond the frontage wasn't really something that staff felt comfortable asking for. Fabio, I saw you pop up. I'm sure you could add a little bit to that for the transportation side, if you'd like.
Sure. Thanks, Brett. I don't have a whole lot more to add than you've just expertly provided. Fabio DeFreitas, for the record, City of Beaverton Senior Planner. I would just add to what Brett identified to the commission. The city typically does not have the opportunity to require what we would consider here off-site improvements beyond the Sikh Center's property frontage. In this case, even more so, because as I think Brett has identified already this evening, to achieve the standard right-of-way improvements that the Sikh Center will be constructing, they need to provide substantial property dedication to accommodate those improvements. If we were to start looking at requiring improvements up and down Division Street here, there would be the need for property dedication from properties that are not involved with this land use application. And so we'd be running afoul of federal law in terms of nexus and proportionality findings that have to be made. So we're very restricted from the city's perspective in terms of requiring any development anywhere in the city to provide off-site improvements. And so we're limited to those along the site frontages of the sites that are in question in relation to the subject land use review. As we've identified here, the Sikh Center will be providing their fair share of those improvements and property dedication. And as is the case here in Beaverton and many other jurisdictions around us, we see these improvements happening more realistically, incrementally with each development that comes in, as opposed to achieving and facilitating those improvements region-wide or even street section-wide on a capital improvement project basis. So we're doing what we can as development comes in to fill in the gaps with improvements. Division is, again, as Brett mentioned, under the county's authority here. There is great work to be done to achieve the ultimate cross-section that needs to be done for this lengthy roadway section, but the Sikh Center is doing its part.
Thank you. Commissioners, are there any additional questions of staff? Commissioner Lawler.
Oh, sorry, I was trying to lower my hand.
Not Commissioner Lawler. Okay, so we will, thank you very much. I think we'll move on to the applicant's presentation. The applicant will now have 20 minutes to present. Please begin by introducing yourselves and stating your names and addresses for the record.
Hello, I am Hayden Wooten, planner with Reese Engineering and Survey. Our address is 321 First Avenue East, Suite 3A, Albany, Oregon 97321. With me tonight is a representative of the Sikh Center of Oregon and our transportation engineer with Lancaster Mobley, if any questions need to be directed towards them. I will keep my presentation fairly brief tonight. It has been wonderful working with the City of Beaverton staff. I have found their report detailed and accurate and concur with all of their findings. Additionally, the applicant's team has had an opportunity to review the staff report and propose conditions of approval. We agree with all of staff's findings and propose no changes to the condition of approval. We are willing to move forward with all of them as proposed. With that, to clarify one quick thing I heard earlier, the kitchen is purely an accessory use, only intended to serve congregation members. At no point has it been communicated to me that it will serve any other use or really be used on any days outside of a traditional Sunday service or special event on the Sikh calendar. And with that, I will cede the rest of my time and would be happy to answer any questions about the project.
All right, thank you. Commissioners, are there any questions of the applicant with regard to the proposed application? I do not see any. Thank you very much. We are now at the public testimony portion for this agenda item. We will call for testimony in groups, starting with those in favor of the application, then those in opposition to the application, then those neither in favor nor in opposition. As a reminder, testimony is limited to the criteria that apply to the application. So now is the time for testimony in favor of the application. For those viewing via Zoom webinar, please communicate by using the raise hand feature in your Zoom menu bar. If calling in, press *9 to alert the chair that you would like to speak. The commission calls, you are listed as B&K Kingsbury. Please state your name and address for the record. Hello? It looks like that you are muted. Are you able to unmute? City staff, is anyone able to help this person?
I have tried to ask them to unmute, and I gave them permission to talk, but nothing is coming through as far as I can tell.
Okay. We may need to come back to you then. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak in favor of the application? I see Mike K. Please state your name and address for the record.
Yes, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, great. Michael Kalkofen. I live at 15705 Southwest Village Circle in Beaverton, 97007. We actually live at the southeast corner of the subject property, so we have a very, very vested interest in what happens behind us. From the very beginning, it seems like they really want to be good neighbors and part of the community. They came and knocked on our door one day and introduced themselves and gave us a flyer talking about an event that they were going to have to just interact with people in the neighborhood and get input. And we really like that. As many of you probably know, this property was previously approved for a housing development that received a lot of exceptions to put in more houses than are normally allowed and to cut down a lot more trees than are normally allowed. For us, that would have destroyed a great view and put a street basically coming straight into our backyard. And the developers never once came by. We never heard anything from them. So it just feels like the Sikhs want to be good members of the community, and that gives us a really good feeling. In regard to the trees, the previous housing development would have cut down a ton of trees. And there are some really, really big, majestic, old growth trees at the back of that property. We regularly see owls back there, tons and tons of other birds. We've seen deer back there a few times. So it would be really, really horrible if those trees were cut down. And we are very heartened to see that the plans will leave the vast majority of the large trees at the back of the property. So we're very happy about that. There were already some comments about the community kitchen, which, from what we understood, it was just going to be a purely after service kind of thing. And they, again, would welcome neighbors to join them, which I thought was a nice offering. And then just finally on the sidewalk thing, we walk our dogs back there occasionally, and honestly, it seems silly to me to require them to put sidewalks in front of their property when there are no sidewalks on the rest of the street on that side. I mean, it would be out of place, and I mean, honestly, to me, it's a waste of money for them, but require what you will. We look forward to having them as neighbors.
Thank you. Commissioners, do you have any questions for the speaker? Guess not. Thank you very much. Did we lose our other speaker? It looks like they're gone. Do we have anyone else who wishes to speak in favor of the application? All right, we will move on. Now is the time for public testimony in opposition of the application. Again, for those viewing via Zoom webinar, please communicate by using the raise hand feature in your Zoom menu bar. If calling in, press *9 to alert the chair that you would like to speak. Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition of the application? All right, we are seeing none. So we will move on to those who are neither in favor nor in opposition of the application. For those viewing via Zoom webinar, please communicate by using the raise hand feature. If calling in, press *9 to alert the chair that you want to speak. And it looks like we have one person. The commission calls Cheryl Clementson to speak. Please state your name and address for the record.
Thank you very much for the unmute. My name is Cheryl Clementson. I live at 5575 Southwest 157th Place, Beaverton 97007. So 157th is that street, that little cul-de-sac that's off to the west of the property. And actually, we had a community meeting on this street about a year ago and did send in a letter, so I kind of thought it would be in the packet that expressed whatever our concerns were. Most of them had to do with pedestrian traffic on Southwest Division, which I know it's not designated as a high density corridor for pedestrians, but that's incorrect. There are lots and lots of people walking there, and as somebody stated, there's not sidewalks on the one side. My concern though, or my question is, on page 43 and 44 of the packet, it talks about lighting and about lighting poles that will be between 15 and 20 feet high. I don't know anything about how the luminaries work, but I just want to make a comment and request that, if possible, the lighting be such so that it will not shine into the adjacent residential properties. So I know they can angle it, that kind of thing, and that's really my only concern. The owners definitely have been very gracious to the community and made sure that people have their questions answered. And that's the only remaining question that I haven't seen adequately answered. And also, Commissioner Lawler, I'd like to thank you for going out to the property and getting a flavor for it. I know it's not possible for all of you as public servants in your spare time to go out and take a look, but I do appreciate the fact that you were able to do that and understand the nature and the characteristics of the neighborhood. Thank you very much.
Do commissioners have any questions of the speaker? Doesn't look like it. Thank you very much. Oh, wait, Commissioner Ellis.
Yeah, sorry, Chair. I want to echo that. That's a good question from Cheryl there about the lighting. I hadn't thought of that. That the parking lot lines up to that western edge of where houses are. I don't know if it's not directly in the packet that the person comments on the staff report, but if you, on the city website, if you back up to the overall project page, there is an attachment around the photometric plan, which is the lighting for the space, and that does include a legal maximum amount of light that's allowed to spill over the western edge of the property. So that should hopefully answer the concern. It's kind of some technical jargon for how they measure the lighting, but there is guidance that they should be following when they install that in. So that's it made me go, your comment made me go look for it. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Ellis.
All right, commissioners, are there any additional questions for our speaker? No? All right, thank you, Cheryl. I appreciate that. Are there any other members of the community who wish to speak? It does not look like we have anyone else. So now is the time for the applicant's rebuttal. The applicant's rebuttal is limited to 5 minutes. Please keep comments focused on issues raised during the public testimony portion, and please do not provide any new evidence.
Thank you. I would just like to note that yes, a photometric plan was prepared and submitted to demonstrate our compliance with the City of Beaverton's lighting standards.
Thank you. Do commissioners have any questions of the applicant? That was pretty straightforward. Okay. All right. Do staff have any final comments?
Just quick comment on the photometric. It's exhibit 3.09 for Cheryl if she's able to get to the development project page. And then as well, just hopefully to ease some more concerns, there's landscape buffering. That's a requirement for conditional uses between a residential use. So there's also, high opacity shrubs and then a new cedar 6-foot high fence to hopefully even catch some more of any kind of light pollution that could spill over from the parking lot and additional lighting.
Great, thank you. All right, with final comments completed, I will close the public hearing, and as is standard procedure, I will randomly poll commissioners to state their conclusions on the application. Commissioner Ellis.
Yeah, everything seems to meet the needs and the letter of the law and so on and so forth, and I'm pleased to hear that the applicant has already been a proactive and good neighbor. So that's great to hear.
Commissioner Lawler.
Yeah, I'm happy to hear that we had a lot of input on this, but I regarded a standard that we just simply can't apply. We can't make a new use correct, decades of street improvements that maybe never happened. So, but all things considered, this is a really great reuse of this property. They're reusing the buildings that are already that are in a state of disrepair, I noticed at my site visit. And so I think it will greatly enhance the site. It's sad that a lot of trees have to go, but I'm glad that they are recognizing that there are some really tall trees that I noticed at the back of the property that they are maintaining. So they're, I think, illustrating their good neighbor practices in many different ways. And I believe this meets the criteria for approval.
Commissioner Glenn Winkle.
Yes, I agree with my fellow commissioners. I think it's well designed and well thought out, and I like that they've already tried to be good neighbors, which says a lot. So I think with the conditions of approval, it meets the criteria, and I'm in support.
Commissioner Nye.
I agree with my fellow commissioners, and I think it meets the approval criteria.
Thank you. Commissioner Winter.
I concur with my fellow commissioners, and I think the project will be a benefit to the community.
Great. And I agree with my fellow commissioners as well. Is there a motion?
Yes, that would be me. Commissioners, I move to approve LU 32023-00649, the Beaverton Sikh Temple, based on the facts and findings of the staff report dated June 18th, 2024.
And I'll second Commissioner's motion.
All right. A vote will be taken by roll call. When your name is called, please say yay or nay.
Chair, may I
Commissioner,
just ask a clarification? Robin McIntyre, Assistant City Attorney. I just want to make sure that the motion is clear that it's approved with conditions as recommended. I didn't catch the conditions part. So just wanted to make sure that that was part of the motion.
Commissioner Winter, I believe that you intended that to be part of the motion.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. So now I will take a vote. Commissioner Lawler.
Aye.
Commissioner Glenwinkle.
Aye.
Commissioner Nye.
Aye.
Commissioner Ellis.
Aye.
Commissioner Winter.
Aye.
And I vote aye as well. The motion passes unanimously. The Planning Commission's decision will be memorialized in land use orders that will be provided to all parties that provided oral and written testimony. If you would like to appeal this decision, you must appeal in accordance with the applicable provisions in the Beaverton Development Code and the rules of the Land Use Board of Appeals. All right, the second item on the agenda is the application for LU 3-2024-00179 Greenway Elementary School Portable Structures, case file numbers CU 2-2024-00177 and DR 3-2024-00178. The applicant has the burden of proving that the applications are consistent with the Beaverton Development Code, Comprehensive Plan, and any applicable Beaverton Code provision. The criteria that must be addressed in the hearing are Development Code sections 40.03.1 Facilities Review Committee, 40.15.15.2C Minor Modification of a Conditional Use, and 40.20.15.3C Design Review 3. Testimony, arguments, and evidence must be directed toward these approval criteria or other criteria in the Comprehensive Plan or Development Code that the speaker believes to apply to the application. Failure to raise an issue accompanied by statements or evidence sufficient to allow the Planning Commission and other interested parties an opportunity to respond to the issue may preclude an appeal to the Land Use Board of Appeals based on that issue. Anyone who submits written comments or gives oral testimony has standing to appeal this decision. Failure of the applicant to raise constitutional or other issues relating to the proposed conditions of approval with sufficient specificity to allow the city to respond to the issue may preclude an action for damages in circuit court. State and local law require commissioners to make certain disclosures. To these ends, the following question will be asked. Does any commissioner have a potential or actual conflict of interest, ex parte contacts, or site visits to declare? Commissioner Lawler.
No conflicts or ex parte contacts, but I did conduct a site visit today and did not encounter anyone or speak to anyone.
Thank you. Commissioner Glenwinkle.
I do have a conflict of interest with BSD, so I'm going to recuse myself for this portion of the hearing tonight.
Thank you. Commissioner Winter.
No conflicts, no site visit.
Commissioner Ellis.
I don't believe I have any conflicts with any of those three. I have not made a specific site visit. I do drive by Greenway very, very often, and my father-in-law lives just a couple blocks down Downing Drive from the location, but nothing to do with the school itself.
Okay, and Commissioner Nye.
No to all three.
Okay, and I wish to declare that I do work with the Beaverton School District on a separate project. It is not related to this project in any way, and so I do not believe that I have an actual conflict of interest. Does any member of the audience wish to question a commissioner about ex parte contacts or site visits or challenge the right of any commissioner to participate in this hearing? Let the record show we have no response. The order of the public hearing tonight will be as follows. City staff will give a presentation followed by commissioners' questions of staff. The applicant will be given 20 minutes for its presentation, followed by the commission's questions of the applicant. Then members of the public in support of the application can speak for up to 5 minutes each. Then members of the public opposed to the application can speak for up to 5 minutes each. And then members of the public who are neither in support nor opposed will then have 5 minutes to speak. After public testimony, the applicant will have 5 minutes for rebuttal. The Planning Commission will then hear any final comments from staff. So we will now begin with the staff presentation.
All right. Good evening, Chair and Commissioners. I'm Aaron Harris, Senior Planner, City of Beaverton Community Development Department. My presentation this evening is for LU3 2024-00179 Greenway Elementary School Portable Structures. Land Use Application CU2 2024-00177 and DR3 2024-00178. This slide provides a project summary. The applicant proposes to place 3 portable classrooms at Greenway Elementary School and to extend the existing parking lot to add additional parking spaces. Here are the land use applications associated with the proposal. The proposal includes a minor modification of a conditional use and a Design Review 3 application. This slide provides a vicinity map illustrating the site and surrounding area. The subject site is located at the intersection of Southwest Greenway and Southwest Downing Drive. Here's another vicinity map that's zooming in on the site. The site's located on the south side of Southwest Greenway and the east side of Southwest Downing Drive. The site is 9.46 acres. This slide identifies the existing on-site uses and uses in the surrounding area. The subject site is an existing elementary school. Properties to the north of the site include a park and a residential neighborhood. Properties to the south, east, and west are existing homes in residential neighborhoods. Here's a zoning map of the site and surrounding area. The site is zoned residential mixed C, as are the properties to the north and to the east. Properties to the south and to the west are zoned residential mixed A. Here's a site plan illustrating the proposed site design, the portable classrooms to the north of the existing school, and the proposed new extension of the parking lot in that southeast corner. Following slides are photos of the portable classrooms located on the site. These 2 are taken from north of the property. This picture was taken along Greenway, and this one along Downing Drive. This slide addresses the minor modification of a conditional use request. The placement of portable classrooms at an elementary school triggers the requirement for a minor modification of a conditional use. This slide addresses the Design Review 3 request. A Design Review 3 application is required because the proposal includes design elements that do not meet applicable design review standards. The applicant has instead proposed to address the corresponding design review guidelines only. Staff recommends that the Planning Commission approves LU3 2024-00179 Greenway Elementary School Portable Structures, subject to the conditions identified in the revised staff report dated June 24th, 2024. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions that you all might have. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Are there any questions of staff with regard to the proposed application? I am not seeing any, so thank you. As we will move on to the applicant's presentation. The applicant will have 20 minutes to present. Please begin by introducing yourselves and stating your names and addresses for the record.
Good evening, Chair McCann, members of the commission. My name is Stephen Sparks. I'm Executive Administrator for Planning at the Beaverton School District. With me is our project team for this particular application, and should we need them, I'll have them introduce themselves as well. Our address is located on the first page of the staff report. So for this particular application, as noted by staff, we're looking to add these 3 portables to the site. This site has been selected as a swing school for the Raleigh Hills students. And while that school is being rebuilt, and we will have the students, the Raleigh Hills students, return to the new Raleigh Hills Elementary School in the school year starting in August 2026. We're looking at key distinction for this particular project over other portables that you've seen across the district is these portables will be removed in August. We're shooting for August, September of 2026 to get them off the site and to remove the parking lot as well. The overall impact there will be for 2 years, and then we'll restore the site to its current condition that's out there. We are requesting 2 changes to the conditions of approval in the staff report. The first one is condition number 13, which requires a B3 standard landscaping buffer on the east and southern property line. Because we're going to be removing the reason for the B3 landscape buffer in 2 years, and because the standard requires the opacity within 2 years, we believe and we suggest to you that the landscaping that we're proposing is going to suffice for the short-term duration of the impact that we're creating with the parking area and the portables. Our second request is to condition 30C, which is talking about providing a crossing guard in the parking lot for arrival and dismissal at the the time for student arrival and student dismissal. Crossing guard has a specific requirement and connotation in at least the Beaverton School District operational protocols. And what we would request as an amendment to condition 30C is to remove the text that reads, "shall provide a crossing guard to." And we would request that it's that specific text to be staff shall. So what that will do is Beaverton School District staff shall assist students walking through the parking lot at arrival and dismissal. And that's consistent with our operating procedures right now at the elementary school level. Our staff are out there in the parking lots, moving kids around, making sure they're getting on the right bus, that they're not running in front of cars, things like that. So that would be consistent with our operation. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions. And as I mentioned, we do have our project team here, so I would call on them to assist me if any questions that you may have.
All right, thank you very much. For those of you commissioners, raise your hand if you have questions of the applicant, and it looks like we have Commissioner Ellis.
Yeah, Stephen, just sorry, more clarity so I understand the crossing guard piece. That's because Beaverton School District, what you're saying, treats crossing guard as a proper noun. It's an actual role that you hire for. Your recommendation is to treat it as a descriptor and say that you want to provide crossing guard services as opposed to a crossing guard role.
You're speaking my language. I love how you're using, you're correcting my grammar or providing context to my grammar. Yes, you're exactly right. We have different staff within our buildings acting in that capacity. So for example, nutrition services people will be crossing guards out in the streets and the neighborhoods, particularly during arrival. But the staff themselves, as part of their workday, are in the parking lot.
Cool. Okay. Thank you. That's clear to me, at least.
Commissioner Lawler.
When I visited the site today, I noticed how close that parking lot is to the houses, especially, let's see here, what direction would that be? I guess north. They're really close. That's why I thought the B3 buffer was appropriate. Of course, you're saying that it's only for 2 years. I don't know.
So
the best laid plans may not come to fruition. So convince me why those folks shouldn't be, basically shrouded from headlights beaming right into their yards.
So the property lines in question are the closest property line is to the south. And it's also elevated from the finished grade of the parking lot by a couple of feet, not massive difference. We will be, there is an existing wood fence along that property line, and we will provide bushes, I believe it's on 5-foot centers along that property line and the east property line, which has a chain link fence right now. So we think that there is sufficient screening right now to, screen that future parking area. And the portables might have some oblique visibility from the properties to the east, but to the south, it would still be screened by the building.
And I think you're right. I was most concerned about the houses to the south. It's on a skewed angle. That's why I'm kind of having trouble with my directions. But yes, those houses were really close. And
Yes.
I mean, I noted that there was a 6-foot, it looked like maybe a 4-foot wood fence. Okay, all right, thank you.
It is a 6-foot fence.
6 foot,
It
okay.
is, we do have rather large mature trees in that area, which we're proposing to retain. We expect that it to be sufficient. And I share your skepticism of the school district saying, trust us, the portables will be removed. We do have a history of putting in temporary portables, and they remain there for years. These will not. It'll be just like over there at Beaverton High School, that they will be removed as soon as we can move into the new building.
And do you have any, do you have any trouble with, I mean, it seems like a city requirement that the parking lot be paved. I know you proposed, I guess, much more of a temporary kind of a paving, or you wanted to have gravel, but are you guys convinced, are you accepting the requirement to have it paved?
If that's what it's got to be, then that's what we'll do.
Okay, okay. I think it's appropriate. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Nye.
Sorry, there was just a very loud explosion outside. So I missed a little bit of what Mr. Sparks was just saying. The way I didn't see anything in the staff report stating that these portables were coming out in 2 years. Did I miss it? It's not part of the conditions of approval.
It was stated in our narrative that we will be removing them at, once the students return to Raleigh Hills. We do not have the enrollment within the, currently within the Greenway attendance area to need those portables.
Yeah, I guess maybe it's a question for staff then, because obviously conditional use runs, as you very well know, runs with the land. And so, I mean, I guess, is it possible that in 10 years, the school district can come back in and put 3 portables in based on this condition of approval, this application?
That is a question for city staff, but let me provide you with some context here. Back in the, I believe it was the early 90s, the district put portables on that site, and then we removed them in, I believe it was the early zeros. This is in the, at least the materials that we prepared, that history. If we were going to be able to use that prior entitlement, we would have.
Okay. Thanks.
Commissioners, are there any additional questions of the applicant? It doesn't look like it. Thank you very much. We are now at the public testimony portion for this agenda item. We will call for testimony in groups, starting with those in favor of the application, then those in opposition to the application, then those neither in favor nor in opposition. As a reminder, testimony is limited to the criteria that apply to the application. So now is the time for testimony in favor of the application. For those viewing via Zoom webinar, please communicate by using the raise hand feature in your Zoom menu bar. If calling in, press *9 to alert the chair that you would like to speak. Do we have anyone who wishes to speak in favor of the application? We're not seeing anyone, so we will move on to public testimony in opposition to the application. Do we have anyone who wishes to speak in opposition to the application? Still not seeing anyone. So we will move on to those who are neither in favor nor opposed to the application. Is there anyone who wishes to speak? And it looks like we have none. So there's no need for a rebuttal when no one said anything. Do we have, we'll move on to staff final comments. Staff, are there any final comments?
Yeah, there's a few items. So as far as condition number 13 goes, we just want to emphasize that the buffer is due to the proximity of the residential homes. We measure the that parking lot as under 9 feet from the property line as shown on the plans, and measurements of the fences at 5 feet. So just want to clarify that. Also want to note that there are no findings in the record associated with 6005-4511D, which requires that when there's changes to the buffer widths or standards as proposed, a description needed of the physical site constraints or unique site characteristics that merits that change to the standards or the widths is needed. So we do not have that on the record at this point. So just want to point those notes out for condition number 13. As far as condition 30 goes, staff proposes the following revised verbiage. The school district shall provide staff trained on the required drop-off/pickup plan to assist students and parents in crossing the parking/circulation area. Staff shall be present during the morning and afternoon pickup and drop-off timeframes. So in other words, simply changing the cross guard to verbiage that's more similar to what has been discussed.
Chair, may I add to staff's comments?
Absolutely, thank you.
Yeah, I would just point out that if the planning commission were to want to make a motion to change that condition number 13, as Aaron mentioned, there are no findings in the staff report. So I would just ask that the commission provide oral findings to support the basis for not meeting that standard, that guideline. You can do that as part of your motion, or you can direct staff to prepare that finding, and we can come back and the final order can be voted on by the commission as a whole. Either way, those would be the two options.
Thank you. All right. So with those final comments completed, we will close the public hearing, and as a standard procedure, randomly poll commissioners to state their conclusions on the application. Commissioner Lawler.
I believe staff did a wonderful job of trying to pull together some loose threads on this application. So I want to give extra kudos to Planner Harris for his great job on this. And I think that given my observations out there, I do believe that we should keep condition number 13 requiring that B3 buffer because of my comments earlier. The houses are very close. And I do believe that the alternate language to condition 30C makes a lot of sense. So with that, with those revisions, I am in support of the application.
Commissioner Winter. You're muted, Commissioner Winter.
Sorry. Mine is a terrible thing to waste. I concur with Commissioner Lawler's succinct comments.
Thank you. Commissioner Ellis.
Yeah, I think I mostly concur. I'm a little mixed on the landscape item B3 on if there's a time element to that requirement, but the opacity isn't met until the portables come out, then it does feel like an unneeded exercise. But then there's a safety net in my head of saying, well, if you know, best laid plans of construction and the portables have to stay there for longer, then that buffer becomes important. So I'll leave it in staff's capable hands that they define that right. It sounds sensible, if not maybe the cheapest thing in the world, but everything else sounds right. And appreciate the change on the crossing guard thing too. It's always nice to see a fast pivot.
Commissioner Nye.
I'm generally agree with my fellow commissioners. I'm a little agnostic on the buffer, but I also think, you know, more landscape never hurts anything. So, yeah.
Right. And I generally agree with my fellow commissioners as well. I do feel like if there were an absolute guarantee that these elements would absolutely be removed within 2 years, that might be a great, you know, I feel like that's a fair argument since these buffers don't usually reach their maturity until at least 2 years. So that timing's a little off, but I do feel like based on the conversation today, we're hearing that it is the intent that they come out in 2 years, but we know that sometimes from history, these things don't exactly happen. And I agree with Commissioner Nye that there's nothing wrong with additional landscape, and that might be nice for the school anyway. So with that, is there I guess, looking to my fellow commissioners, is there a motion?
Commissioners, I move to approve the application LU 32024-00179 Greenway Elementary School Portable Structures application based on the staff report dated June 18, 2024, with the amendment of condition and with the condition, including the condition.
Yes, Jana?
Excuse me, Gianna Fox, current planning manager. I would like to identify that we would like the motion to include the amended staff report dated June 24th instead of the June 18th staff report. Thank you.
I move to approve LU 32024-00179 based on staff report dated June 24th, 2024. The additional change to include all of the previous conditions of approval.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I will second that motion.
Is there any discussion? No. A vote will be taken by roll call. When your name is called, please say yay or nay. Commissioner Lawler.
Yay.
Commissioner Winter.
Aye.
Commissioner Ellis.
Aye.
Commissioner Nye.
Aye.
And I vote aye as well. Motion passes unanimously. The Planning Commission's decision will be memorialized in land use orders that will be provided to all parties that provided oral and written testimony. If you would like to appeal this decision, you must appeal in accordance with the applicable provisions in the Beaverton Development Code and the rules of the Land Use Board of Appeals. Staff, there has been a request that we take a break here for a moment. Would it be all right for us to take a 10-minute break before we go on to the third item?
Absolutely. You may always do that at your discretion.
Okay, well, great. Maybe we can make it 9 minutes because my watch says 7:36. Could we be back at 7:45? All right, thank you. All right. Welcome back, everyone. The third item on the agenda is the application for LU 3-2023-00902 Willow Creek Greenway Boardwalk, case file numbers DR 3-2023-00898, TP2 2023-00901, and VAR 3-2024-00323. The applicant has the burden of proving that the applications are consistent with the Beaverton Development Code, Comprehensive Plan, and any applicable Beaverton Code provision. The criteria that must be addressed in the hearing are Development Code Sections 40.03.1 Facilities Review Committee, 40.20.15.3C Design Review 3, 40.90.152.2C Tree Plan 2, and 40.95.15.1C variance. Testimony, arguments, and evidence must be directed toward these approval criteria or other criteria in the comprehensive plan or development code that the speaker believes to apply to the application. Failure to raise an issue accompanied by statements or evidence sufficient to allow the Planning Commission and other interested parties an opportunity to respond to the issue may preclude an appeal to the Land Use Board of Appeals based on that issue. Anyone who submits written comments or gives oral testimony has standing to appeal this decision. Failure of the applicant to raise constitutional or other issues relating to the proposed conditions of approval with sufficient specificity to allow the city to respond to the issue may preclude an action for damages in circuit court. State and local law require commissioners to make certain disclosures. To these ends, the following questions will be asked. Does any commissioner have a potential or actual conflict of interest, ex parte contacts, or site visits to declare? Commissioner Glenn Winkle.
No to all three.
Commissioner Ellis.
No to all three.
Commissioner Lawler.
No to all three.
Commissioner Nye.
No to all three.
Commissioner Winter.
No to all three.
And no to all three for me as well. Does any member of the audience wish to question a commissioner about ex parte contacts or site visits or challenge the right of any commissioner to participate in this hearing? Let the record show we have no response. The order of the public hearing tonight will be as follows. City staff will give a presentation followed by commissioners' questions of staff. The applicant will be given 20 minutes for his presentation followed by the commission's questions of the applicant. Then members of the public in support of the application can speak for up to 5 minutes each. Then members of the public opposed to the application can speak for up to 5 minutes each. And then members of the public who are neither in support nor opposed will then have 5 minutes to speak. After public testimony, the applicant will have 5 minutes for rebuttal. The Planning Commission will then hear any final comments from staff. We will now begin with the staff presentation.
All right, good evening, Chair and Commissioners. My name is Brett Cannon, Associate Planner with the City of Beaverton, and the item for you this evening is the Willow Creek Boardwalk proposal. So the applicant proposes to reconstruct an existing boardwalk through a natural area. The applicant proposes to have the boardwalk remain unlit after the reconstruction. The necessary applications for a pedestrian walkway to not meet the lighting standards would be a Design Review 3 and a variance. And additionally, the applicant proposes to remove 31 trees from the project area, which will require a Tree Plan 2 application. The project is located in the Willow Creek Natural Area. The site as a whole is approximately 5.87 acres, with the proposed area of disturbance taking place on the southern portion of the site, and it's about a little over a half acre. It's within the West Beaverton Neighborhood Association, and it's zoned RNB. So the proposal to reconstruct a boardwalk, it's existed since the Waterhouse subdivision was developed between 1982 and 1984. The improvements include a realignment to reduce sharp corners and new materials to bring it up to date with the Americans with Disabilities Act accessibility guidelines. The boardwalk hasn't had any lighting since it was constructed in the early 1980s. So the applicant has proposed to have no lighting for the boardwalk. Therefore, the applicant has addressed the applicable design guideline for lighting, which states in part, the applicant should describe the unique circumstance attributed to the use or site where compliance with the standard is either infeasible or unnecessary. So the applicant has provided the following 3 reasons. First, the negative impact on natural area, light pollution for properties to the south, and then also lighting would invite users to the park trail system when it's closed. Because as with the majority of THPRD facilities, the trail is only open from dawn to dusk. Staff concurs with the applicant and finds meeting the lighting standards for the boardwalk are unnecessary given its operating characteristics. As I mentioned earlier, the site is located within a significant grove, specifically number 19, and the applicant proposes to remove 31 trees, 18 specifically for the reconstruction of the boardwalk, and an additional 13 Oregon ash to mitigate for the ongoing emerald ash borer. Therefore, it's meeting threshold number 3 for a tree plan 2. And based on the mitigation calculations identified in 60-60-25, the applicant is required to plant 73.5 dBH of new trees. Staff cite the exhibit 3.08, which was the arborist report that states 252 willow trees of 3 different species will be planted for mitigation purposes. Based on these materials, staff find the criterion and other applicable tree plan 2 approval criteria have been satisfied. And finally, the variance. So in addition to the design review 3, an application to deviate from lighting standards in section 60-55-25 would require a variance. Specific approval criteria for a variance include identifying unique conditions of the site, and strict interpretation of the code would deprive the property rights enjoyed by others. So special conditions of the site is that it's a park located within a floodplain and riparian area. It's closed to users from dusk to dawn, distinguishing it from many other uses in the same zoning district. The provision to provide lighting on site would be unique to the RMB zone because the majority of the development in the RMB is single detached dwellings, and these single detached dwellings don't actually require lighting on their internal walkways. So additionally, strict interpretation would deprive the applicant of its rights because many of those properties in the same zoning district don't have to address this code section 60-55-25-10, which is subject to the variance. Therefore, staff concur with the applicant that the site's uniqueness precludes the needing for lighting. In conclusion, staff recommends approval of LU 3 2023-00902 Willow Creek Boardwalk with conditions, and staff is open to any questions the commission may have.
All right, thank you. Are there any questions of staff with regard to the proposed application? Commissioner Lawler.
I guess what I have is mostly a comment. When I saw the number of trees that were going to be removed, I thought it was an excessive amount. But then when I read that we're taking preemptive action on Oregon ash and removing them, it's a little bit shocking, but I guess I understand. And it was following the recommendation of the Department of Agriculture. So just wanted to make that comment.
Are there other commissioners with questions of staff? Doesn't look like it. So we'll move, thank you. We will move on to the applicant presentation. The applicant will now have 20 minutes to present. Please begin by introducing yourselves and stating your names and addresses for the record.
All right. Can you all see my screen?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Perfect. All right. So I am Glenn Sutherland. I am a planner with AKS Engineering and Forestry, representing the Tualatin Hills Park and Recreation District. I have with me here today From the district, Renee Brucker, who is a park planner with the district, and also from our team here, Steve Russell. AKS did the planning, civil engineering, surveying, et cetera, for the project. And I'll turn it over to Renee to kind of give a little bit of background on how we came to this point and what this project is and how it fits into the district's overall strategy and improvement schedules.
Thanks, Glenn. Hello, I'm Renee Brucker, a park planner with Tualatin Hills Park and Recreation District. And I'm the project manager for the Willow Creek Greenway Boardwalk Replacement Project. And since Glenn has already introduced themselves, Glenn and Steve, that I will move along with that. Thank you so much for having us tonight to share the plans of the necessary improvements to this section of Willow Creek Greenway. So we have our vision action plan, and all of our projects, programs, decisions throughout the district take into account this vision action plan goals. These goals were shaped by input from over 10,500 community members from all across the district. And the vision action plan goals include welcoming and inclusive, accessible and safe, play for everyone, and preserving natural spaces. This project is no exception. We looked and viewed all of those items with this project here. This is also a Metro Bond project that aims to connect people with nature and restore habitats. Next slide. We introduced the community to the project and preliminary plan through two different on-site events. Family Fun Night, where we talked to 100 local neighbors while having a lot of fun celebrating. You can see we had a beautiful day for that to enjoy a summer evening at Greenway. And a day with Unidas en la Naturaleza, I hope I said that correctly, or Women United in Nature, a Latina group working to engage women and families in natural areas. At this event, more than 50 participants engaged in cultural art and music while enjoying the Greenway and sharing their hopes for the future of this and other trails at the Park District. Additional engagement opportunities included a project web page, social media presence, and 2 presentations to the Five Oaks Triple Creek Nat. I will now turn over the presentation to Glenn. Thank you so much.
Great, thank you, Renee. So as Brett did a great job of explaining where this site is, I just wanted to give a little context to not only the location of the site, but how it fits in with all of the other trails and facilities around there. You can see that site in red, kind of towards the middle left of the screen there. But it's close to Five Oaks Middle School. It's immediately adjacent to the Waterhouse Trail. It's not too far from the Howard Turpinning Complex, the main kind of recreational center for THPRD. And you can see a number of other parks and facilities in the area. So this helps connect that area on 158th to Waterhouse Trail to a number of different other facilities that are close by, and an important link in the district's network of trails. So I wanted to show you kind of what the conditions are. You all mentioned that you hadn't taken a site visit, so we'll take a look here. I actually used to live in this area and would use this trail pretty often. It was built in the 80s, so there aren't any particular accessibility regulations that this was built to accommodate, although the district has done a great job of trying to do their best to maintain it over these decades to make sure that it remains usable and accessible to the best of their ability. But it's really nearing the end of its usable life, so it really should be replaced. And as part of that, all of these winding and sharp turns would be replaced and straightened out to the best of our ability. You can see that there's a little bit of lifting on some of these planks that make up the boardwalk. And while interesting, there are some trees that are actually in the middle of the boardwalk. So it does make passage a little difficult. There's not too much room on either side of that ash tree there pictured in the center of the screen. So some areas do have these accessibility challenges. That is the existing bridge on the right-hand side, and that would be replaced as part of this as well. But just to kind of give an overview of the entire project alignment, you can see that for the most part, where feasible, it's been straightened out, kind of in the same area to minimize the amount of disturbance to the wetland area and to the neighbors to the south. So within that kind of existing corridor, trying to keep it in that area, but also make it as accessible as possible to meet those ADAG guidelines. So this is these are actually pictures of an existing segment just to the west that was part of a previous project. We would replace the boardwalk with an 8-foot wide ADA compliant boardwalk with some non-slip materials. Those would be a lot better for maintenance because they'd be kind of more durable and sustainable materials. Right now they're wooden boards, and there's a lot of different tests that the district has done to try and figure out what material would be best for that. And since that is in a wetland, that would all be raised. This would be kind of the piers that would be used. They're kind of these systems that you can use to minimize the disturbance of the ground. So there's no grading that needs to take place. There's no real excavation to speak of. You place these footings in and you kind of drill it in to secure it to the ground. So there's no need to regrade the path area. And the tree plan, I did want to mention, yes, we do need to remove 31 trees. Unfortunately, as part of this project, some of those are, because they are in the preferred alignment of the pathway, and some are for preventative measures for Oregon's ongoing ash borer problem. But in that place, we would be planting, according to our mitigation calculations, 794 trees. And I don't want to give the impression that those are 2-inch caliper, that the entire planting of those 700 and something trees, that those are all large. If you've ever seen wetland mitigation before, you know that there's a huge number of small plantings. But to meet BDC 60-60-25, which is a 2-to-1 mitigation, 37 of those would be alders. They would be 2-inch caliper. And about 500 of those plantings would be willows, and those would be about a 1/2-inch caliper. And those are a 1-to-1 DBH mitigation for the ash trees that are being removed. So if there's if you have any other questions about that, we can pull up the tree plan that's in the exhibits. Otherwise, the other issue, obviously, beyond the design review, is the lighting variance. And as Brett stated, I think it's best that this pathway remain unlit, not only because it's been that way since it was constructed, because obviously our idea of what standards are change over time, but because this is a natural area, lighting does have a much greater effect on the surroundings than we would expect in a normal residential or commercial area. So here we're trying to prevent disturbance of the flora and fauna through this natural area by minimizing the amount of artificial light that's being provided there. And additionally, we want to make sure that we're not disturbing the neighbors and also not inviting use of this pathway between dusk and dawn. As you can see from some of those pictures, while we are straightening that path, it is raised, it is in a wooded area. You don't want people kind of being led to this connection from surrounding streets in dark hours and having trouble making their way or getting hurt because they are back there in the dark. But unfortunately, that's kind of the reality when you invite people into that space. So this area is closed, and because the lighting would be extraordinary measures for this sort of area, and would be so disturbing to the natural area and neighbors, we would ask that you approve this variance. So just to kind of give you a timeline of where we're at here, obviously, we've been engaging the community throughout this process, and we hope to get our approval from you tonight and have this project in the construction process in winter or spring 2025. Obviously, it's one of many projects that THPRD undertakes every year, and this is an important one just because of the maintenance issues and kind of the importance of this pathway and this area. So kind of to recap, the applicant concurs with the staff report, and we don't have any issues with the conditions of approval as proposed, and we would ask that you approve this application. And I will take any questions you might have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Do we have questions of the applicant? Commissioner Glenwinkle.
Hi, yes, thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you.
I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about the thinking behind straightening the trail or the boardwalk, because I find that a more meandering trail is, more relaxing and reflects more of the natural shape of a wetland area. If you have a long, straight, boardwalk, I see people racing through on bikes, and it's just not as attractive, I think, to have a straight path as a curvy path. So just wondering what the thinking behind that was.
Sure. I think Renee could probably help me out with this, but I just wanted to start by saying that first and foremost, to facilitate kind of making that pathway more accessible, just because currently it has so many sharp turns, it does end up being a little more difficult to navigate. So that's kind of the thinking there, but maybe Renee can help me out with some of that background information from the original planning effort behind this.
Yeah, that's true. Straightening out some of the tight curves in there will allow easier access through there. The boardwalk will be a little wider than it is currently. And we did discuss the potential for bikes moving through there quickly. When it is straightened out, there are still curves and edges and things that bikers do need to be aware of, and we do ask them to go slowly through these types of situations on our trail systems. We also looked at some areas where it was very close to the neighbors' properties, if not actually encroaching on the properties. So we've had to adjust the boardwalk away from property lines as much as we could. And that also attributed to some of the areas being a little bit straighter than meandering. I think were the reasons for that.
Okay, thank you. I think an 8-foot wide straight shot through there is making it less of a natural feel. I think it's a degradation to the design, but thank you.
Yeah. I will move on to Commissioner Ellis in a minute, but I would, if there is any possibility that you would reconsider a little bit, I would encourage you to do so. There is not an ADA reason to not have turns, and your width obviously would accommodate, all of the ADA requirements and guidelines. And I have to say, I agree with Commissioner Glenwinkle that it might actually help with some of your bikes who might choose to kind of roll through here really quickly if there are a few more turns, and it makes it a nice path. That's it. Commissioner Ellis, you have a question.
Yeah, the two of you actually, I had two, and that was one of my questions. Was I was picturing my 7-year-old who will take every opportunity possible to go as fast as humanly possible down a walkway like that on his bike, and so that was exactly what I was going to call out. Is visually it looks like the new slats, the railways, like that kind of stuff. Everything, it makes perfect sense. I love it. But yeah, same comments about if there's an opportunity to give it some angles and give it some bends, like that'd be wonderful. That's a style choice. I understand it doesn't have to, meet a requirement there, but it's a recommendation. More of an actual question, just on the lighting piece. I'm trying to think about precedent. I'm having a hard time recalling other THPRD trails in my head. Is it similar with other trails where we don't do lighting for the purposes of the whole dawn to dusk thing? So it would
be we rarely light our pathways, our trails.
Cool. Okay. Thank you.
Another part of the boardwalk alignment is that the materials that we're using, that we have chosen to use in this situation, is partially because it's a very shaded area, and this material will be less slippery. It has a much better tack to it. And the pieces are a longer, straighter sections, and so moving those and adjusting that is a little bit more difficult building wise. And I think some of the straightening was done to save some of the oak trees that are kind of near to the path, if I'm correct. And I think Steve Russell is with us today, and he might be able to talk about that a little bit further. So if you look, do we have a plan that shows an overlap of the boardwalk to the old, existing, and the new? Glenn?
Let me try and pull that up here. I think we've got.
Because it is
Can you all see
fairly
that?
minor changes. If you overlap them, I think you'll have a better idea of what we're doing in there. We do have a few straighter stretches than we've had in the past, but
So this is kind of if you can see the PDF there on my screen. No? Okay, let me try and reshare.
Presentation, yeah.
Great, thank you. How about now?
No. Yeah. Oh, there it goes. Yeah.
Okay. So this is the existing alignment of that boardwalk. As you can see, there's a lot of bends to that.
We have one that isn't overlapping, I thought.
These are the ones that were included in the application. I think we may have had a different exhibit that that demonstrated that. That was not part of the application that we
That
submitted.
could be, yeah, that could be.
Does this show it with the red the red
No, the red, that's
pattern?
a mitigation, I believe.
Yeah,
Okay.
the hatching here though with the little plus signs, that is areas that the existing boardwalk is
Yeah.
covering, however. So that might be a good analog to showing the actual overlap, just because there's kind of this meandering that you can see here.
Yeah, so that's one of the particular areas that we straightened out a little bit more. It allows for better visibility when you're walking down the pathway as well. And the rest of them are fairly minor adjustments.
And on the east end there, we were trying to minimize impact to the wetlands because it does go through a few existing wetlands.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Glenwinkle, did you have another question?
I do. About the slats that you chose for the actual boardwalk, you said you picked something that would be not very slippery when it's shaded or wet. Do you know how it is for maintenance if it gets graffitied or something like that? Is it going to be easy to clean to keep it looking nice, or is there a texture to it that would make it difficult to scrub graffiti off of?
There is a texture to it, and as far as I know, we haven't had problems with graffiti, but that's something that I would definitely ask our maintenance folks to see if that has been an issue with the existing trails that we have with this material.
Commissioner Ellis, did you have another question?
Nope, sorry, that was my hand staying up for no good reason.
All right. I did have a question regarding the mitigation. You said that you're looking at willow. I looked at your plans. It didn't look like you chose a specific species, but I do know a lot of our native species can be very shrubby. And so I was curious of a couple of things. So first, do you have plans to manage or maintain those in a way that they will be encouraged to grow into more of a tree form as opposed to a large shrub, very large shrub? And second question would be, did you look at, or what's the strategy? 500 is a lot. And I understand that you're putting them in as kind of whip size, so they're very small going in. But that would be an extremely dense planting, say if it did really well and a lot of them survived, like how do you actually manage that over time so you don't actually over densify the wetland? So those are my two questions.
As far as the plant habit, for the plants that are part of the mitigation, a lot of those plants are kind of dictated by Clean Water Services and what plant materials can go in. And we typically, our Nature and Trails group will be maintaining this area, and they have been in this site clearing out invasives and replanting with a variety of trees and shrubs and rushes and reeds and such. And I know that they go in and clear out the invasives, and I think with the dense plantings like this, as they get bigger and larger, and hopefully we have good survival rate, that they will thin it out as necessary while they're in there taking care of invasives. I'm not up to date with their maintenance plan out here, but I know this is one of the sites that they've been working on recently and taking care of. Let's see, the next question was, do they prune the plant materials to become more tree formed? Not that I'm aware of. We don't have the, the time and energies to place into doing that kind of work. But I know that our sites end up looking pretty good when they're done with them. So we can certainly look at the trees that we have on the plant list and provide any other solutions. We were looking at the plants that were natives that would work well in this type of wet situation. So
yeah, and I think you have a nice list for some of the other restoration areas. You have a nice diverse list of natives. 500 willows is a lot of willow. They're great. They provide great habitat, but they can, yeah. I think what you probably want to avoid is just having it be overdense, and then all this work you've done to make things feel safer and improve views and all that kind of gets overrun by some of these big plants, and that can kind of work against you.
Yeah, and we try to keep a kind of a distance, 2 to 3 feet from the boardwalk, kind of low and chill. So those areas would be pruned back.
That makes sense. Commissioner Glenn Winkle, did you have another question?
Well, it was related to your question. I was just hoping for more diversity in the replacement plants rather than 500 willows. I think, like you said, that's a lot of one type of tree, and that particular tree just turns into, it can look like a big mess. And if we don't have the resources to prune them to look a certain way, I think having a different type of tree might be better.
And we can converse with the city arborist on some recommendations as well.
Great, thank you.
Are there any additional questions from commissioners? All right, it doesn't look like it. So we are now at the public testimony portion for this agenda item. Thank you. We will call testimony in groups, starting with those in favor of the application, then those in opposition to the application, then those neither in favor nor in opposition. As a reminder, testimony is limited to the criteria that apply to the application. So now is the time for testimony in favor of the application. For those viewing via Zoom webinar, please communicate by using the raise hand feature in your Zoom menu bar. If calling in, press *9 to alert the chair that you would like to speak. Do we have anyone who wishes to speak in favor of the application tonight? I do not see anyone, so we will move on to public testimony in opposition of the application. Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition to the application tonight? And I do not see anyone, so do we have anyone who would like to speak who is neither in favor nor opposed to the application tonight? It appears that we do not have any public testimony, so we will move on to any final comments from staff. Staff, are there any final comments on the application?
Yeah, just a couple clarifying remarks more so on the tree. So as the applicant stated, some of the trees are specifically for the development code, to mitigate the 79, I think, and a half dBH that was required. And then many of those other plantings are part of the CWS vegetated corridor mitigation, which is completely separate and outside the city's kind of purview. And they provide that CWS service provider letter to the city as part of their application package. And then finally, the city arborist did review the project and just basically didn't have any comments on the proposal. So I will leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, with final comments completed, I will close the public hearing, and as is standard procedure, I will randomly poll commissioners to state their conclusions on the application. Commissioner Glenn Winkle.
I don't have any further comments at this time.
Thank you. Commissioner Ellis?
Yeah, no additional comments other than the style questions that a couple of us had. Everything else seemed pretty straightforward.
Commissioner Lawler?
I believe the application meets the criteria. I am especially pleased with the fact that they took the variance request very seriously, and I think they gave some very good substantiation to approval of the variance.
Commissioner Nye?
No other comments. I appreciate the commission's questions. They were some that I had, so.
Commissioner Winter?
I think it's an excellent application, and I'm great.
And as for myself, I think I also agree that it's a great application. While I do hope to see maybe a little more diversity in the plant species rather than only the willow for that area, I do think it's a good application. It looks like a wonderful project for the community. So with that, is there a motion?
Commissioners, I move to approve LU 32023-00902 based on the facts and findings of the staff report dated June 18, 2024 that includes conditions of.
Is there a second?
I will second that.
So a vote, or is there any discussion? All right, a vote will be taken by roll call. When your name is called, please say yay or nay. Commissioner Ellis?
Aye.
Commissioner Lawler?
Aye.
Commissioner Nye?
Aye.
Commissioner Glenwinkle?
Aye.
Commissioner Winter?
Aye.
I vote aye as well. Motion passes unanimously. The Planning Commission's decision will be memorialized in land use orders that will be provided to all parties that provided oral and written testimony. If you would like to appeal this decision, you must appeal in accordance with the applicable provisions in the Beaverton Development Code and the rules of the Land Use Board of Appeals. And that concludes our meeting tonight. We are now adjourned at 8:29 p.m.